All right. Hey YouTube, I'm Lucky, and in today's video, we're covering the Trials Meta Report, a long series I've been doing for quite a while now, ever since Trials of Osiris returned to Destiny 2 in March of last year. And what I do here is I analyze the data using DestinyTrialsReport.com, and we go over what the meta is to help you go flawless and help you understand what are the strongest weapons inside Trials of Osiris. So let's go ahead and pull up the data from last week and compare it to this week. This is the data from last week. And this is the data from this week. So we can see how the meta is shifting week by week. And obviously, after about 4 or 5 weeks, we have a pretty solid idea of what the meta is, unless Bungie does like a mid-season patch of some kind, or if there's some crazy new exotic that's introduced into the game, that can switch things up quite a bit, which we have seen in the past. But as it stands right now, last week we have Vex, Messenger, Ace, Felwinter, Darkest Before, Thorn, Chaperone, Palindrome, Adept, Practice This, and the Rizwalker. So no snipers in the top 10 last week at all. This week we have Messenger is in the #1 spot, and Vex is in the 2nd spot, which is pretty crazy, right? I don't understand why the Messenger is that good necessarily. It is a good pulse rifle. I did a few videos with it. It does slap, but I didn't realize it was going to be the #1 most used weapon. That is wild to me. Definitely crazy stuff there. It is partly to do with the map being distant shore, so it's like a large map. So once you get that range, a weapon like the Messenger will do you some really nasty damage. With controllers, super good. You'll get lots of 2 bursts with the aim assist. Even without aim assist, though, on mouse and keyboard, from my experience using it, this thing is a beast. As I've shown you many gameplay videos before, you can look those up if you haven't seen them yet. Vex drops down a little bit, but obviously stays up towards the top. Very, very strong. Does the Vex deserve to get nerfed? I don't know. That's up to you to decide. Personally, sometimes the Vex, if you hit all those headshots, by some miracle, if every shot lines up, the time to kill on that thing is just absolutely insane, in my opinion. I don't know if it necessarily needs to be nerfed, though. It is like the only like auto rifle, I guess, in the top 10. So maybe leave the Vex alone. I have mixed opinions on this. Let me know your opinions down in the comment section below. Do you think the Vex should get a slight nerf for PvP, or do you think it's just fine? I'm happy either way. I don't really use the Vex, and it doesn't really bother me too much. So #3 goes to the Ace of Spades, which holds its #3 spot from last week till now. #4 goes to the main ingredient. Now, this is not just any main ingredient. This is Xur's specialty God rolled main ingredient. If you didn't see that video, I did a PSA making sure that everyone bought this. Hopefully you did. But it's cool to see that a fusion rifle makes it into the top 10, which last week we did not see. And obviously this also gives you a good idea that things that are brought into the game very easily accessible often make it to the top 10. So the top 10 is comprised of both the strongest weapons and the most easily accessible, most popular weapons. It's not always exactly that case, though. Like it's a tricky algorithm, right? Not everyone has Vex Mythoclast. Type down in the comment section below if you have Vex Mythoclast, right? A lot of people don't have it, and yet still, with so many people not having it because you have to complete the raid and have RNG on your side, it's still #1, #2 weapon. So imagine if Vex was accessible to everyone. Imagine if just beating the Vault of Glass once guaranteed you the Vex drop, right? The numbers for the Vex would be off the charts. Like last week would have been 10 million kills instead of 6.8, and this week probably would have been 10 million kills too, in my opinion, which is why I think the Vex is probably closer to OP than it is closer to being balanced. But again, that's just an opinion. So going on down to the #5 slot, we have the Dead Man's Tale makes its appearance. Dead Man's Tale not even in the top 10 last week, all the way up to the #5. Again, a bigger map, so we're going to have a little more ranged primary weapons making an appearance that you won't see ordinarily on the smaller maps like we had last week with Burnout. The #6 spot goes to the Darkest Before. This thing is a beast. The time to kill on this thing is insane. Some people have said to me before that, hey, the Vex is balanced because the Darkest Before can definitely compete with it. And you're not entirely wrong. I do think that the Darkest Before can compete with the Vex, but I would give the Vex a clear edge over the Darkest Before. But if you had to go like the fastest time to kill spam weapon, it would be Vex 1 and Darkest Before #2, in my opinion. Let me know if you agree. And we can see it was #5 last week and #6 this week, so it remains very strong in the top 10. Probably will be an all-out meta weapon. We'll see. Only time will tell after about 4 or 5 weeks. Going on down to the next one, we have Felcher's Lie. It's the #7 slot. It was #4 last week. People couldn't quite let it go. However, this week, I think a little bit more people are realizing that these shotguns have been nerfed to a really high degree, and it can definitely be worth it to just play a little more range, and you don't have to run around aping people. Also, a bigger map is going to force you to not be able to ape people as much. I imagine if next week's map is a small map, we'll see if Felcher's Lie is still hanging around, maybe the #5 slot. Only time will tell. Next up, we have the Lawrence Driver, which is definitely surprising. I personally have not put in enough time with this thing to appreciate how good it is. Like, I didn't realize it was this good. It was a number 8 weapon in the top 10 from this weekend of trials. Obviously a ranged weapon, so that makes sense. The number 9 and number 10 spot go to the Adored and the Eye of Soul snipers, which is cool to see because, like I said last week, there's no snipers, and this week there were 2. Again, another range dynamic that comes with the meta and with the sandbox in trials. So make sure you do have strong loadouts, god rolled weapons prepared for whichever the trials map is, because you want to have the right weapon for the right range. You don't want to be running around with a sniper on endless veil. It usually tends to not work out the best. I mean, it can every now and again, but it tends to not work out the best, right? And then conversely, you don't want to be having a shotgun on a gigantic map because, you know, you're not going to be able to close the distance fast enough. So that is the Trials Meta Report. Last week we had over 750,000 players. This week we had just barely over 700,000, which is an absolute ton of players. I mean, Trials has dipped below 100,000 many times before. Trials, during its most dead period of time, think about this, its most dead period of time was 50,000 players in an entire weekend. It was miserable. I played that weekend. It was miserable. And now Trials is hitting around 750 to 700,000 back-to-back weekends with nothing really that crazy new and exciting out. Like, there's no like new weapons that are just like must have, must play Trials. Like, imagine when Bungie actually like injects loot that's really, really worth, that's new and really worth chasing after. Trials is going to be absolutely insane when that happens eventually, right? And so, very exciting stuff. That'll probably be with the Witch Queen when we get a big upgrade to Trials in terms of loot. And that's the Trials Meta Report. If you did enjoy this video, if you found it helpful or informational, make sure to subscribe with notifications on. Smash the like button. As always, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Later.